We're out here today on a new piece of property that we just got permission to hunt next fall. This is about 40 acres. So right now we're just kind of walking, getting the lay of the land, and hopefully we'll find an antler or two. Just bumping them does around. This is a deer we have a lot of history with. He lived on this 40-acre piece. He was the homebody buck. Here he comes, Mike. He's gonna come right into the plot here. That's the 9. That's him. This is the biggest buck I've ever shot, and we have just had an unbelievable, awesome season on this little 40-acre property. Well, it's the beginning of April, and this is going to be our close to this small 40-acre property. We're here solely on permission, and unfortunately, the landowner passed away in November, and this property went up for sale. So we weren't able to come up with the right amount of funds to purchase it, but we do know who bought it, and we're going to still have a presence here. We're going to help the guys out a lot. We want to spread our knowledge of what we learned. We had a lot of great hunting and a lot of fun building this property up to what it was this fall. But with that being said, we've already moved on. We've got some new properties to hunt, and we had a great time hunting this small property this fall. As you saw, we had a series of unfortunate events after a really great season last year on the 40, and unfortunately we lost that property due to some circumstances that were out of our control. So for this fall, Eric and I went out and we found ourselves a new property to hunt.
Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Hoyt Archery, Fuse Accessories, Realtree, Muddy Outdoors, Cabela's, Rocket Broadheads, Scott Archery, Frigid Forage, Trophy Rock, Easton Arrows, RTP Outdoors, Non-Typical Wildlife Solutions, Deer Grow, Ozonics, Wilderness Athlete, Grizzly Coolers, Redneck Hunting Blinds, and Nikon.
This is one of those properties that when you drive by it on the road, you don't really realize what you have here. Pretty much it's a 100-acre farm, but 95% of that is alfalfa fields and CRP. All this has for timber is one long draw, it's probably close to a mile long, that runs east and west. And when we looked at this on an aerial map, we really figured that this would be a really solid rut farm to hunt during November. It's a connecting farm, and what I mean by that is a lot of the deer that run either to train tracks or some of the other pieces of timber almost have to run through this farm to join into other pieces of big timber, which in our eyes makes it a great rut farm. We got a draw that runs east to west. Those bucks are gonna wanna cruise that. Once we sat down and looked at this on a map, we've really figured out that there's a lot of good areas to put food plots and really try to hold deer in. This is a really good summer farm. Like I said, there's a lot of alfalfa in here. These deer hammer this alfalfa all summer. What we figured out was we wanted an early season food source and a late season food source. The really big preparation started in April. We came in, we cleared out a spot for one of our favorite poor man plots, and it's actually neat because it sets up pretty much the same way as our 40-acre property. We have about 1/8 of an acre clover plot, and instead of using the rivers this year, we have the highway and another gravel road. This really helps us to be able to access this stand super easily and blow our wind back over the highway away from any deer. Once we created that, we looked at a couple more areas and we decided to put in 1.5 acres of soybeans. Our idea behind this was it would give us a spot to hold deer early. Hopefully it'll be green during October, and then late season we're gonna leave that standing and hopefully have some good pods. The beans came in really well. They're forage beans, so we don't get the amount of pods that we would get off a regular crop bean, but they're about chest high, and the deer are absolutely hammering them. The third and final step we took to create a destination food source was planting close to 1 acre of big and beastie. We came all the way on the west side of the farm, the northwest side. We had a little secluded alfalfa field. We tilled that under, left a little bit of alfalfa in, and then put our big and beastie in. This backs up to a really thick, nasty bedding area. And although the deer traffic isn't heavy there right now, we know once this alfalfa goes dormant, once all the other crops are off, those deer are gonna wanna hit those turnips. So that spot sets up perfectly for a south wind. We can come right off the road, enter that stand, not disturb any deer or spook any deer, climb up in the stand and pretty much see this whole farm. This being an overlooked area for how close we are to town, and just being able to drive by and not see a lot of this farm has really helped us. Once we got on here and realized the potential behind it, we're starting to figure out what these deer are doing. Although we're really close to town and close to a lot of action, you'll never be able to see the deer on this property. Everything sits down in the bottoms. They can stay isolated, nobody's bothering them, but we're also 2 minutes away from town, which makes it an easy access spot for us to get out before and after work. And we're starting to realize this might be more than a rut farm. We've already got a couple really good deer. It seems like every card pull we start to get more deer. Lots of bucks on this property, a lot of smaller bucks, but we've got 3 or 4 really good looking deer that we're probably gonna be chasing. One in particular, which is a really big 9-point. And who knows, like I said, this is still gonna be a really good rut farm. So we may have some surprises show up during the fall, but we're gonna get this muddy camera set up, dump out a bag of corn, and before we know it, we'll be up in a tree stand.
It's November 13th, and we're back at it again on the public ground. We brought in a couple of stands today, and we went way back up in here next to a bedding area. This is a spot I've been wanting to try to get to for the last couple of weeks. Right there on the ridge, there's a couple of does coming. Oh, there, good buck. Good buck coming. Right down the ditch, right here. He's coming straight up here towards these does. Me. I think we got him. Nice wide 8-pointer. He's either a 3 or 4-year-old buck, but man, we just haven't had very many opportunities on public. We just hung this stand today, Eric and I.
What an unbelievable night we had tonight. It was a spot we found scouting last shed season. So the combination of getting in there for the first time, hunting unpressured deer, and using the terrain features to our advantage definitely helped us harvest this buck tonight. We've been getting a lot of questions on Ask Winke lately about how we get all of our gear way back deep in some of these places on public land. And today I'm going to show you what we use for a tree stand setup, sticks, and pack whenever we go in there. And there's a lot of fine little details that we've sort of worked out over the years that help us to get all this gear back there quietly. And I'll start with the stand first. This is the Muddy Vantage Point stand. I think it may be new for this year. We've used the Muddy products now for quite some time, and they work great for this application. And this stand is no different. The first thing I do is I fold up the stand and I put the Vantage bracket, the strap, and then the bottom cinch strap on the stand. And then I actually fasten those down tight. That keeps the stand together. And then what I do from there is I'll take my quick sticks from Muddy. These are awesome for doing hanging hunts. We use these all the time on our public land setups. What I actually do is usually pack in 4 to 6 of these, and I'll take 2 of the sticks, I'll put them on one side of the platform, and 2 of the sticks and put them on the other side of the platform. This kind of helps distribute the weight a little bit, and also gives me the ability to add more stuff to the back of my stand, which I'll talk about later. But what I do is I just feed that rope right through the platform here. Make sure that you don't cover up your backpack straps on the back of the stand. And then I run it through each one of these rope cams on the sticks. And what that does is it fastens each individual stick to the stand platform and really holds them in there rock solid. The last thing, our muddy safe line, of course, I loop that around the top of the sticks like this. It's pretty easy to fasten on there. Just tie it in a knot. That way the safe line doesn't come undone with you as you're walking through the woods. And what I feel is the most important accessory on this stand is these muddy backpack straps on the back. It is almost impossible to get one of these setups a couple miles deep on public land without these backpack straps. They are definitely a great investment and don't cost much money to outfit your stands with a setup like this. That is the stand, the sticks, the safe line, all in one package right there. And obviously when we're filming our hunts, we're gonna have a couple of these setups with us, but it's pretty easy for me and the cameraman to just throw on the stands and go, and then have our hands free. The next thing that I like to pack with us is one of these little Cabela's fanny packs. It's not a great big bulky backpack. Last thing you want to be doing when you're going in and hunting several miles deep is packing a ton of gear with you. But it really is a solid setup, and the best thing with the Muddy products and the way that I've got this one sort of fitted out here is that it's dead quiet. When I'm walking through the woods, you don't have any metal on metal contact because everything is fastened to this frame rock solid, and those bungee cords obviously aren't making any noise as well. When you're adding clothes to the outside of this, it even helps deaden more of that sound. So it's really the perfect setup for anybody that's going in deep on public land. Use a few of these tips and tricks, and hopefully it'll help you out this season.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. I've got a couple things I want to touch on right away here. I did get out on the farm and put up a redneck blind a few days ago, and we've been working the food plots, doing a lot of last minute food plot planting, mostly autumn quick plot now. Once you get past the 1st of September, it gets a little bit tougher to get the big and beastie to germinate and grow big enough within the amount of growing season that you've got left. So we focused on drilling in some of the autumn quick plot with the Genesis, getting the redneck out, doing a little bit of spraying and maintenance on the food plots. So I'm setting the stage now for hopefully what's going to come in this next couple of weeks for me. And that is getting out, getting my cameras in place and trying to figure out what bucks are on the farm and where they're living, which ones are killable, and go through that whole inventory process, that whole patterning process. That's all going to start now in this coming week. So when we come back again for the next episode, hopefully I'm well along on that path and I can start to show you some of the bucks that I'll be looking for on the farm. It's going to be exciting. Well, that's it for this week. I've got a couple things I want to leave you with before I send you on your way here. Don't forget about Chasing November. That's our digital delivery, quote unquote, TV show. And it should be, it's on Apple TV now, and you can watch it on YouTube on your television if you've got a smart TV that takes YouTube. And it should be up on Roku and Amazon Fire very soon. So this is a full-length series, 20-minute per episode, 24 episodes long. It replaces the TV show that we had on the Sportsman Channel last year. So please check that out. So we'll see you right back here again next week, and hopefully I've got some big bucks on trail camera to show you. Well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll see you back next week right here for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail. And remember to always dream big.